Good evening, everyone. I am Sarah Phillips. I'm the Executive Director here at the Kodiak Chamber of Commerce. We would like to welcome you to the Global Entrepreneurial and Alaska Startup Week here in Kodiak. This is our kickoff here with Business and Brews. Tonight, we're actually going to have the opportunity to sit in and have a beer with Ben Milstein, the owner over at Kodiak Island Brewing Company, as well as hear from Bounty Farms. That's Alaskan grown produce that's being sold right here in Alaska, Kodiak, Alaska. And we're also going to hear from Million Recipes. That's a brand new entrepreneur that is kicking off her business and finding new and creative solutions while she waits for her food truck to arrive. So I'd like to welcome everyone. I'd like to ask everyone to, if you have your brew available, I've got a little tea with me here, some local Kodiak tea from Kodiak Tea Company. If you want to grab your brew, and we're actually going to go ahead and start the evening off with a toast. So bear with me here, but if you could just, I know we can't all see each other, but if you'll join me, I'd like to propose a toast to those who have been in business for many years. I'm impressed with your dedication to your craft. To those who have been in business for just a few years, months, or even just weeks, I'm impressed with your spirit and your resilience. And especially to those who are just beginning your business adventures, I'm impressed with your interest in education, your willpower, and your optimism. So this evening, let's celebrate this journey we'll all take together. Let's celebrate not just the successes of ourselves as individual businesses, but the overall success of the Alaskan business community. And let's celebrate the fact that we have a bright future to look forward to. So raise your glasses and join me as we look forward to new challenges, new successes, and new friends. Cheers. And let's see, we have a special treat. Here in Kodiak, we don't always have perfect bandwidth. And so what that means is not all areas of the brewery that we're going to be seeing tonight, Kodiak Island Brewery, have great Wi-Fi for us. So we wanted to make sure that you guys got a really nice video tour of the brewery beforehand. The owner has pre-recorded this video for us to be able to share with you tonight. And cheers to Juno too. So the owner, Ben, has recorded the video for us to share with you guys this evening, and he will be available on this meeting to answer any questions that you might have. So please feel free to liberally use that chat or ask any questions that you might have of any of our business owners or entrepreneurs this evening. So without further ado, I'm going to quickly go ahead and just share this video from Ben Milstein, the owner of Kodiak Island Brewing Company.
Hi, Jenna.
Hello, how are you today, Ben?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. So we have Ben Milstein today with us from the Kodiak Island Brewery.
How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. It's a sunny day today here in Kodiak anyways, for the moment. And I'm glad you could make it.
So am I. So tell us about the brewery.
Let's see, we opened in 2003. 2003 was a time in Alaska where there had been a number of breweries in the 90s opening up, and then it kind of leveled off for a while during that time. And we were one of the only breweries to open during that era. And shortly afterwards, it started picking up again. There was quite a few breweries in the single digits there. And of course, more recently, just like the rest of the country, brewery openings have exploded. 6 or 8 years ago, there was about 1,400 breweries in the country, and now there's, I think, around 8,000. So everything's changed. We started at a time when in Alaska there was no brewery licenses weren't allowed to sell for on-premise consumption. It was strictly manufacturing and to go, unless you had a bar license or a brew pub license, a restaurant. And so we were a very small operation in about a 1,500 square foot space to begin with. And then in late 2007, Governor Frank Murkowski signed some legislation that allowed us to start selling limited on-premise consumption. At that time, we expanded our footprint a little bit in the building on Shelikoff Street. We were in a different place then, and started gradually growing the on-premise sales. And in 2011, that was we knew we couldn't stay in that location any longer. It was just getting overwhelming. So we moved here, just a quarter mile or so away, to a more centrally located, larger building, and we've been here since 2012. So you can see around, this is a pretty large tasting room area, and it's not always full during the day, but during the busier times it gets pretty active. And I've always wanted the brewery to be a place where people could get together and not only learn about beer, but do whatever it is they wanted to do, kind of a living room for the community, and it seems like it really has become that. So I'm very thankful about that. We have a number of beers. We like to have a good variety. You know, some of the beers I brew because that's my particular taste. You know, and some of the beers I make that we're making for what we know other people will enjoy. You know, some popular flavors. I tell people all the time, there's over 150 styles of beer. Everybody's bound to like at least some of them. No one's gonna like them all. And so if you haven't found a beer you like, there probably are some out there that you will like. There are a number of beers that we brew that a lot of wine drinkers prefer. You know, some of the stronger ones, some of the oakier flavors, even some of the sours. So there's a lot of different options, from sweet to bitter or strong or mild, malty or fruity. So tons of different flavors, sour even. Well, I can't give you a flavor, unfortunately, through the computer yet. So you have to come back in a couple decades for that kind of technology, I suppose.
So, as a brewer on a small island, how do you manage, supply chain and that sort of stuff?
Brewing requires a lot of inputs. So I guess the main difference being on an island is just that I have to plan ahead a little bit longer. If I'm going to get malt, also we're a relatively small town, so I can't go to the brewery down the street and say, hey, do you have 1,000 pounds of, of two-row or something. I'm going to have to order maybe 6 weeks in advance what I think I'm going to need for malt. Things that can go through the mail can be a little quicker, but even that, if you're getting something FedEx or something, the shipping expense is pretty dramatic. So it's something you've got to be really cautious about. And then glass, that can take 2 months or longer.
Right.
So that it's just a matter of planning ahead, and I think that's a challenge that a lot of people in Alaska face in a lot of different kinds of businesses, and especially in a place like Kodiak.
Right.
I don't feel uniquely burdened by that, but it's certainly part of running a business in Kodiak. We're lucky in Kodiak to have a really healthy environment, and so we can get some unique ingredients locally, like spruce tips we use in several of our beers. We have a wheat wine we make that's flavored with spruce tips. We have what I think was the first spruce tip IPA in this, that I'm aware of. A lot of beers in the past utilizing spruce tips have been maltier beers, which makes sense, which is also true of our wheat wine, because with less hops you can really highlight the spruce tip flavor. But I started to think, what would it be like to use the spruce tips along with hops, and that turned out to be a really great combination, and so that's one of our real popular beers, the Termination Point Spruce Tip IPA. We've also used spruce tips in a goza that we made that was originally part of a collaboration effort with a couple different breweries around the country. Us, Wicked Weed from Asheville, and Sun King Brewing Company from Indianapolis. We did a collaboration project where we made up a beer, the Transcontinental Goza, with different ingredients from each place, and we brewed it in each location. We had kind of a 2-week trip together around the country, and that was a real highlight of my brewing career. That was a lot of fun. But we're not traveling so much right now, so
very true.
we're just enjoying Kodiak.
Yes.
Another local ingredient we use is kelp, which we've used in a different goza. A goza is a really interesting style that has seen a lot of resurgence in the last several years. It's a wheat beer. It's a German-style sour wheat beer, and it's traditionally made with salt and coriander. And it can be made with other flavorings as well, but that's the traditional kind of simple base of it, and it's a super interesting style, and the fact that it's sour made me think it might not be that popular, but I was really impressed and surprised at how popular the sour beers have been, especially the goza, which is such a different flavor with the prominent salt and along with the sourness. But people are really excited. So we started making a goza with kelp, and that's called the Sea Level Goza. And the idea was to use kelp in the kettle as a source of salt. So instead of just adding salt, we add a bunch of kelp and boil it along with the wort in the kettle, and it turned out to add a great salt flavor, and a kind of a deeper, rounder brininess, and people really like the beer, and they also love the idea of it and the fact of using a local ingredient, but also an unusual ingredient. And one of the pleasures of brewing is the creativity. But creativity is not a great. It's not enough. Just to have a beer that's creative is not enough. You can make a pesto beer or something, and that's creative, but it probably isn't going to be good. So it's nice to be able to be creative and then land on something that's also really good.
Right.
And so when something like the kelp goza or the Termination Point Spruce Tip IPA, those were creative ventures that really turned out great, and
right.
that's super rewarding.
Right.
And it's also very fun. I mean, well, part of the point of opening a brewery in Kodiak, because we didn't have one at the time, was to provide a place where people could engage with this kind of exciting culture around the history of beer and the style varieties of beer, because we, had relatively few options at that time.
Right.
And so, and not only that, but the difference between a packaged beer and a fresh beer, or a filtered beer and an unfiltered beer. And so some of those differences are really hard to describe, but when you get used to a fresh beer, it's really something that you miss when you don't have it.
Right.
And so it's been great to have that here. When we moved to Kodiak in '94, and at that time, like I said, a lot of people were opening breweries around Alaska, including some friends of mine that I was in a brewing club with in Homer at the time. And so I got to go visit them in their new breweries, and while they were working on them, and then after they had them up and running, and it was all very exciting to me. And then after a while, I just finally decided, I think we need, if we're going to stay in Kodiak, I think we need a brewery. And so it took me years to get that plan together. Kodiak is a really unique environment. You can't just expect that because someone did something somewhere else that it's going to work here. You have to be pretty careful about making sure you have an adequate market and how you're going to what your strategies are. And my first business plan, my accountant was like, I don't think this is gonna work, and so it was back to the drawing board and figure out a whole different approach. And but I think if you're careful about being honest about your business environment, then a lot of times you could figure out some way to make it work.
Yeah.
And so far, until 2020, it's been pretty good. 2020, all bets are off. But
yeah.
Hopefully we'll get through this.
Yes, we will. Right.
Well, this is the heart of the operation, the production area. These vessels together are called the brew house, and then all of these back here are fermenters. It's a 10-barrel system, which is just about 300 gallons, just over 300 gallons. So that would be a single batch size. These smaller fermenters are 10-barrel fermenters, and then we have 420s and 130. And so those you just brew multiple times to fill up, and that's just a little bit more efficient when you know you're going to need more of it. So. The way the process works is you can see a PVC pipe up here. That's called a grist auger. There's a coiled spring in there, and it brings the grain in from the mill in the back. So that's kind of the beginning of it. You use heated water, hot water from, this is called a combi tank. So it's a hot water tank on the bottom and a mash tun on the top with a false bottom that you mix the grain, which is falling in through the grist hydrator, with the hot water that's pumping up from the bottom on top of the false bottom. That's the mash. You let that sit for a while and draw off the sweet liquid, which is called sweet wort at that point, into the kettle, and there you add the hops. And like I was talking about earlier, we add kelp in there too for the sea level goes up, and occasionally other ingredients, maybe coriander or orange peel or all sorts of things, for different styles for that. Actually, I think I forgot to mention the orange peel in the goza. And coriander and orange peel are also used in a Belgian style wit beer. And then, but yeah, the possibilities are endless. So you boil in the kettle with the hops and any other ingredients, and then you cool it down through a heat exchanger and pump it into a fermenter where you add the yeast. You got to make sure that it's cool enough so that it doesn't kill the yeast at that point. So you're changing from going from the boil where everything is sanitized to in a new environment where you want things to grow, at least the ones you want to, the yeast themselves. So that the fermentation for a normal style ale maybe takes a week or so. Lagers take longer because it's a cooler fermentation, and strong beers take longer because there's a lot more sugars to handle. So so it can go on for weeks and weeks, depending on the style. And then after the cone bottom allows you to transfer to take after the yeast settles, to take that yeast out and either harvest it for use in another batch or discard it because you don't want too much yeast left in the beer itself, depending on the style. So that's kind of an overview of the brewing process.
So a big thanks to Ben Milstein for doing that pre-recorded video tour for us so that he could answer any of our questions. Speaking of questions, if you happen to have any questions right now, please go ahead and type those into the chat function, either on the Zoom webinar, or for those of you watching on Facebook, go ahead and type your questions in there. We'll have Ben here just with us for a little while to answer any of those questions. So he's joining us right now from the tap room in there. So who knows what he's got brewing.
Cheers, everybody.
So I'm not seeing any questions coming in, Ben. So if you want to head on out, we can go ahead and introduce our next speakers.
We'll just take a little tour out to the brewery.
So as Ben was talking about in his videos, he really found a need and really found a way to make a community effort and collaborate within the Kodiak community and with other communities. And so this next business that we're going to be visiting with is actually Bounty Farms. And they are all about Alaskan produce, Alaskan grown produce and products. And we're lucky to be having them with us today to go ahead and share their experiences with us. Let's see if we can switch that video over to them. And so please go ahead, explain all about Bounty Farms for us.
Hi, my name is Janelle. I represent Bounty Farm here in Kodiak. Judy Hamilton also runs the farm. We are a local small-scale farm. Grow produce and flowers, chickens, and pigs in the wintertime. Our setup is we do markets in the summertime. We do a summer CSA, and yeah, we're all about local and organic produce.
Wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and show the fantastic produce on display that you can purchase here today.
So talk us through a few of the products. What are favorites?
So this is actually Kodiak Harvest, which is separate from Bounty Farm. We are a cooperative here. Our goal is to have a brick and mortar grocery store. So there's a little bit of confusion because I work with both Bounty Farm and with the Kodiak Harvest. So most of this produce, actually all of this produce, is from Palmer, Anchorage, and Wasilla. In the summertime, we do get local produce from Kodiak growers, including Bounty Farm and Larson Bay Village and other Kodiak producers. But right now, this is what we have in Cleveland. It's Alaska grown. And then we also carry a variety of Alaska products from Juneau, Kodiak, and Anchorage. So right now we're doing a weekly market every Monday from 5 to 7, and that will go through the month of December.
Fantastic.
And what's the community response been like to have some of this locally sourced or, you know, Alaskan sourced produce? What's the reactions you're getting?
Oh yeah, people are very supportive. If you sign up as a member, you are part of the co-op. We have 534 members right now. And since COVID became a thing, we started doing pre-order vegetable boxes. So you can go on our website and order a produce box and then anything else that's on our website and do a contact list pickup. Yeah, we've had a very good support from Kodiak residents.
And can you remind us again, what's your website and how late are you here for tonight?
This is KodiakHarvest.org. And then Bounty Farm, the local farm is KodiakBounty.com.
And it looks like we've had a couple of questions come in. So what's the greatest challenge to creating a network of community entrepreneurs that support one another?
I think, let me think about that. I think right now the challenge is not having like a set location. We are doing these markets. But I think once we have Kodiak Harvest has our brick and mortar, that'll kind of bring everyone together and make the whole idea more cohesive. But it's been really great to represent and connect with local producers.
And this next question actually leads us in really well to our next segment with Million Recipes and Diane Million. This question is, what has been the most successful cross-business marketing strategy?
Cross-business marketing strategy.
Should we go over to Diane Million?
Yeah, maybe Diane would.
Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity for Diane to go ahead and explain what her business is. She found a need in Kodiak. She has an idea that is really cross-promotional with exactly what we're doing here with Bounty Farms and Kodiak Harvest. So go ahead, take it away, Diane.
Hi, most of you know me from the brewery, and one of my biggest questions asked by people from out of town is, where can I go get a fresh seafood dinner, in particular crab, halibut? And it coincided with reading a book called The 100-Mile Diet, and what I believe is that Kodiak has everything we need to live a sustainable life, between the co-op and Bounty Farms for produce and certain proteins, and Heritage Farms, and hopefully Sitkinak Farms. As soon as the Prime Act is passed, all of that will be coming to fruition. But our goal is to provide healthy meals, fun meals, like the pretzel bites and beer cheese and beer mustard that's here right now. It's up for grabs from the food trailer that I find out tomorrow when it's going to be done, and hoping it's here before the end of the year.
So Diane, we've had a question come in that is, how do you see tackling the challenges of bringing people together? Obviously, your experience with the brewery has given you some insights on this.
I think food brings everyone together. I have noticed one of the things we did here was Monday nights were typically slow. You can see here. And it used to make me crazy to stay in here all by myself or with just a couple other people. So for donation only, for 14 weeks before COVID, I served dinners every Monday night for donation only. And we went from maybe 10 to 20 people having a beer each night to 60 to 80 on a really good night. When they found out there was lasagna and salad and garlic bread and really awesome beer to go along with it, it was easy to bring people together. And I think food's number one.
And Diane, your business plan really for the future, it goes so far beyond just the 100-mile diet. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have in the works upcoming as one of our featured entrepreneurs this week?
Well, my ultimate goal is my pork, dairy products, and lamb will come right from Heritage Farm, which is right here on the island. My produce and chicken will come from Bounty Farms. Through the co-op, I will be able to purchase produce from the canoyers out in Larson Bay. And then, like I said, if the Prime Act gets pushed through, which is turning me into a lobbyist now, Kodiak Farms is going to provide all my beef, which means we will be completely sustainable here for everything coming out of off the land. And then as far as the waters, I have specific fishermen that went and got the proper licensing, and they're going to work with the canneries, and I'll buy my seafood direct from them. So everything you eat out of the food truck will be from Kodiak. At least 90%. I haven't found anybody that wants to grow wheat, but I do have Bright Box that has microgreens. So, and they want to expand to an entire produce collection. So maybe I'll talk them into growing wheat.
So Diana, we've had another question come in for people who are trying to do a little bit of a business like what you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about the Prime Act and why that's kind of inhibiting you right now?
Well, as of right now, if I want to order any protein, for example, beef, if I want ground beef, I have to order it from a farm that is USDA approved. Between COVID and being logistically not within an easy distance from most inspectors, Kodiak is a very difficult place to get the beef from. So if the Prime Act goes through, the USDA will no longer be required to inspect the proteins. They will be able to be sold within state commercially to someone who's going to resell it. It's an act that's been bounced around politically since 2017. There's an awful lot of farmers that back it. I'm hoping that Alaska will be one of the politician groups that start to back it, because as of right now, no one in Alaska is backing this. So I'm working with Jason from Kodiak Farms and some other farmers and seeing what we can do to make this a reality so that you can get fresh beef, fresh chicken, fresh pork, anything you want from here, especially during COVID. I mean, people in Kodiak are used to shipping issues. I mean, how many times have you gone into Safeway or Cost Savers and there's no chicken that you wanted, or there's no cut of beef that you wanted? It's frustrating. I've done it myself. I wanted to make beef and broccoli and I want flank steak, and nowhere on this island could I get a slice of flank steak. And it's just not the same when you make it with a different cut of beef. So if I have that reliability and that sustainability, I have full confidence that when someone comes to the food truck and they say, I would like beef and broccoli, I'll be able to give them the right cut of beef that's cooked the right way and hopefully super tasty.
Awesome. So can you also, this is another question that's come in, tell us about what's the most critical advocacy effort to spur local entrepreneurship? So what are some of the services that you used, and what kind of advocacy has helped your business grow?
Two things. Most important to me is the Chamber of Commerce. If it wasn't for the Chamber of Commerce, I would be lost. It's where I go with 90% of my questions. From web building to how do I go about this? Because when I started this, it was a few years back, and then we had my husband dealing with retirement and other things that kind of pushed it back a little bit and changed our plans to when I was actually ready to do it. COVID hit. And when you go to the bank, nobody wants to talk to somebody and give them a $50,000 loan when they're working 3 hours a week because there's no need for you. And it was frustrating, but I really took advantage of the Chamber of Commerce and all of the information they were able to offer and ideas. And it really gave me that stepping stone to get to the next step. The other 10% has been talking to other entrepreneurs right here on the island, including Ben. I can't even put into words how much he's helped. Every time I have a question, I can go to him. Sarah Culberson at Frame Shop. I've been picking her brain for the last week, and she's been amazing. And it's so awesome to have a community that you can rely on, and they're there to help you. Nobody wants you to fail. They all want, they help. Should you fall, they're there to pick you up. I know that firsthand. So it's Chamber of Commerce, 100%. It's been amazing.
Well, thanks for that amazing shout out. It's been a pleasure to work with you, Diane. So we also got a question. You may not know for sure, but we have some of our attendees interested in helping advocate for you for the Prime Act. So who can they contact? Do you happen to know? If not, I have
Contact for the Prime Act?
Yeah.
As of right now, my plan is tomorrow. It was supposed to be today, but I got a little busy making pretzel bites. I plan on going over to the legislative office and speaking with them and finding out what powers that be I need to write to directly or call. And hopefully the same way we've used the brewery in the past to work on things like Pebble Mine and, all the different events that go on, maybe start one of my own to get this bill passed.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was going to recommend. Write in, call, talk to your legislature, and that's.
Oh, I plan on knocking on doors and making phone calls. That's for sure.
That's fantastic. Well, I haven't seen any additional questions come in, so we'd like to go ahead and give people a chance to ask those questions, maybe while they grab another beer or brew of their choosing. So I think we'll stick around. Yeah, so I think we'll stick around here for just a little bit to see if we can get any additional calls to come in. These are pretzel bites shown off here by Diane from Million Recipes, and
we have.
They're gonna pair pretty perfectly with your brews.
Shell mustard.
So these are pretzel bites made with the beer from the brewery, which is the Selikoff Stout
Mustard and liquid sunshine cheese.
And liquid sunshine cheese. So again, using the products from the brewery in
Grain in the dough.
And the grain in the dough. So using all the products from, again, things here in Kodiak. So, and they're delicious. So please come down to the brewery.
So Diane, we had another question come in for you. With space constraints, how do you develop a menu for a food trailer?
That I've had a little bit of help with those 14 weeks of doing dinners on Monday night. I would always ask the crew that came in on Monday, what are you guys in the mood for? So they would tell me, and it was, shepherd's pie, lasagna, enchiladas, all kinds of different things. So my goal in the food trailer is to have 4 to 5 sandwiches available the whole time I'm open. For example, my Cubanos, Reubens, cheese steaks, stuff like that. And po' boys, which is my favorite sandwich. And then at night, dinner time, the dinners will be whatever's fresh fish. For example, halibut, rockfish, salmon, of course. And then a family style meal. So you'll be able to get sandwiches all the time, sides all the time, pretzel bites, crab balls, snack things to come in the brewery and just have a snack while you have a couple beers. Or you'll be able to come down and get a plate of lasagna or a tray. Say you're going home to serve 6. I can put together the tray of lasagna, a nice side salad, some garlic bread, and it's dinner to go. But the dinner to goes and things like that will be specials.
And so with such a large amount of offerings, are you planning to do all the prep work, all the cooking in that food trailer, or are you planning to use an offsite kitchen?
No, everything will be in the trailer.
Okay, perfect.
I had it custom designed, so it should have plenty of room for everything we need to do.
Very good. And, oh, this is a great one. Do you have a recipe book to purchase?
Not yet, but part of putting together a business plan and part of preparing for this food truck has been actually coming up with recipes so that I can have someone help me in the food truck. And that was the hardest task I've ever done. But as of right now, I have 40 written recipes. And I figured if I'm writing them, maybe I will put out a cookbook one of these days, but it's not in the works yet. It's just for the food trailer so far.
And certainly with that spirit of collaboration, I know that you'll probably work with our local bookstore when you decide to put that out there.
I actually have worked with Melissa at our local bookstore because I've been talking about the 100-mile diet for the last year now. And I warned her in advance. I was like, you might want to get a few copies. So hopefully people that are interested in the trailer and the food will head out to the bookstore and check out that book.
I agree. I'm excited to go buy that. So Melissa better be ready for us to stop by.
Awesome.
Well, that's the last set of questions that I've had come in. So I think that if we all want to sit back, relax, and maybe grab another brew of our own, this was a really fun evening, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. It's been really educational and a fantastic way for us to see 3 different businesses here in Kodiak and learn about that collaborative effort and exactly how our entrepreneurs got started and what keeps them going. So we'll hang around here just for another minute or two, and that will be that'll kind of be it. So I see that there's a request to contact Diane about some ideas for a food truck. Diane, if you wanted to publicly give out your information, you're able to do that. We can share that now. Or if you, whoever it is posing the question, if you want to send an email to chamberdirector@kodiak.org. I'm going to type it in here. So anyone with additional questions can direct them to the email that I'm typing in on Zoom right now. And we can connect you with any of the panelists that have been on here tonight. So again, just reach out to chamberdirector@kodiak.org, and we're more than happy to share any information with any of our panelists this evening. So again, thank you so much. We've had a great time. Thanks for joining us for Business and Brews, and look forward to more events like this in the coming next few months. And then again, this is just the kickoff to Global Entrepreneurial Week and Alaska Startup Week. So to check out our full detailed schedule, go to our Facebook page, Kodiak Chamber, or check out our website, at kodiakchamber.org. You can see our full calendar of community events there and see all the great sessions we have planned for you this week. And it's a statewide event, so see what not only Kodiak has to offer, but Alaska statewide. Again, thanks so much for joining us tonight.